Today on Listen Up, brutally attacked overseas, 2 Canadian missionaries stunned the world by forgiving their attackers. We'll find out why next. Welcome to Listen Up. I'm Lorna Duick. Today we're kicking off our 10th season, delving deeper into one of the biggest stories of human courage, a story that captured headlines around the globe. It was a July evening when Canadian missionaries John and Eloise Bergen were just getting ready to settle down for the night at their Kenyan home when they found themselves fighting for their lives.
And all of a sudden, I was jumped by men who just appeared out of the bushes. And I was wrestled to the ground, and immediately a stranglehold was placed on my throat. And the rest of the men, 5 or 6 of them, began to beat me with clubs and machetes.
Brutally assaulted, John and Eloise are fortunate to be alive. But in the immediate aftermath of the attacks, they spoke a message of love and forgiveness for their attackers. It was a move that would earn them the admiration from some, disbelief and scorn from others. Today, in an exclusive interview with the Bergens and their family, we'll look at their choice to forgive. We'll ask what motivated it and what makes it possible, and we'll explore the impact their choice is having on others. But first, Eloise and John Bergen have spent a lifetime caring for their family. They've worked as pastors, carpenters, and caregivers in a variety of ways. But as Eloise turned 65 and John became 70, they embarked on the fulfillment of a dream, to go to where they could serve the poorest of the poor. They began by working in Kitale refugee camp in Kenya, then devoted themselves to the problem of food security. They established a farm and taught local children and villagers gardening techniques. Life was good, and they were making a difference. John and Eloise, thank you for being with Listen Up. We've heard parts and bits of your story, but I don't think we really understand why you went to a post-election country that was in complete upheaval in Kenya. John, why? What were you there to do?
Well, we had heard so much about the children, orphan children whose parents have died because of AIDS and bloody clashes. And so we just felt that this is something that we could speak into and give our lives to. So we really surrendered everything over here, got rid of everything, and just decided this is where we want to go and spend the rest of our lives.
Eloise, did you know this amazing work was going to be dangerous?
Yes, I did, but I was so excited to go. I could hardly stand myself. I had had this dream when I was a little girl to go to Africa and do this sort of thing, and then it went to sleep in me all those years, the dream did, and all of a sudden it was wide awake, and I had so much energy to pack up my stuff and take the pictures off the walls, get rid of everything. It was not like a sacrifice, it was like an exciting adventure.
And John prepared for it by getting in shape.
Well, because when you're 70 years of age, if you don't exercise, you fossilize. That's just how it is. And I knew that without physical strength, how could I go to those outback places on such horribly rough roads and survive and make it there and have energy to minister to people when I'm at the other end of the journey. So unless you're physically fit, you may as well go home and just retire. But I was trying to refire.
Sadly, the adventure would soon take a tragic twist. Only 4 months after their work in Kenya began, on the evening of July 9th, the couple were getting ready to settle down for the night.
I had just poured the bathtub for my wife. She was going to take a bath, and then I went out to the yard, which was totally black at that time of the night. It was about 9 o'clock or 9:15 in the evening. And all of a sudden, I was jumped by men who just appeared out of the bushes. And I was wrestled to the ground, and immediately a stranglehold was placed on my throat. And the rest of the men, 5 or 6 of them, began to beat me with clubs and machetes. And they put 9 machete cuts across my knees, to say nothing of everything else. There's another 4 or 5 on my head where they went through my skull and broke my jaw in about 5 places. There's 5 fractures there. And cut my arms off, except for some tendons that were still holding on. And really, basically, I'm trying to survive. I'm just trying to breathe.
When the beating was over, John would be tossed into bushes and left for dead. Next, the attackers ransacked the Bergens' home, where they found Eloise, unaware of her husband's plight and still taking a bath.
Well, I was just having a nice warm bath, just relaxed. I didn't hear one sound. I didn't hear them come in. All of a sudden, I looked up, and there were about 5 men standing beside my tub with machetes and clubs in their hands. So I just calmly said, "Would you please hand me my clothes?" And they said, "No clothes." And I saw the tall one raise his machete high, and his eyes were like huge, just with hell all breaking loose in his eyes. And he said, "One noise and you're dead." And he said, "Get out." And I said, "Okay." And as soon as I got out, they grabbed my adapter cord for my cell phone, and they wound it round and round my hands in the back of me quite tightly, and started demanding money. They started hitting me and choking me and pushing me around. The tall one took me to the other side of the bedroom and raped me, then handed me over to 2 other men.
In the midst of the brutality, Eloise remembers praying to Jesus. The response to her prayers was immediate.
I knew a secret that they didn't know, that they couldn't touch the real me. And at that point, I was conscious of Jesus putting a warm pillow of his protection all around me.
When it was over, her tormentors left her bound and bleeding and fled the house. Eventually, she managed to free herself and went outside in search of John. When we come back, the attack was over, but the trauma had just begun. So too had the miracles.
And I went out and I found him in the bushes, and the first thing he said to me was, "We can't live here anymore."
This segment brought to you by Samaritan's Purse. For more information, visit SamaritansPurse.ca.
We've completed some remodeling at our home on the web. Come check it out. We've got polls, clips, sneak peeks, and web exclusives. Pay us a visit, stay for a while, and have your say. Would you be able to forgive someone who attacked you? ListenUpTV.com. It was a crime that sent shockwaves around the world. In July 2008, 2 Canadian missionaries working with Kenyan orphans were attacked in their home. 5 men jumped John Bergen, beat him with clubs, machetes, and left him for dead, tossing his body into the bushes. Then they went after his wife, Eloise. Raped by 3 of the men, beaten and bound, she was left naked and bleeding. Eloise managed to free herself. Once free, her first thoughts were for her husband. We pick up their story there.